Every once in a while, a new game appears that seems too good to be true. Sometimes these things turn out to be all-time classics, sometimes they end up being pretty terrible. I wouldn't blame anyone for being skeptical about any game that's promising everything in the kitchen sink, especially now in 2026, where we've all been burned too many times to count. Developers and publishers alike talk a big game, they don't follow through because they can't follow through, and yet rarely, sometimes a game comes out that lives up to all of its promises and more. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today I think we might actually be talking about one of those games. With each new trailer revealed for Crimson Desert, it seems more and more likely that this game might just beat the odds. It's possible, and let me make special emphasis, possible is the word I'm using, not certain, but it's very possible this could be a great game. Right from the very first reveal, Crimson Desert had a lot going for it, with sharp visuals, visceral combat. As we learned more about the game, the frankly absurd scope of the project became more and more clear. This is not your average open-world fantasy action game. It is some kind of everything game, except for it kind of looks like it might actually be that. Like, there's a highly complex battle system that uses multiple weapon types and grappling moves. There's mounts that range from a bear to a horse to a dragon, which flies, that you can mount. And yet Nintendo is not all up in their grill with a lawsuit. For whatever reason, we figured out the reason. Listen to the Falcon Show, by the way. Click join down below. That gives you exclusive access every week. There's an episode called Lawsuits for Fun. It's episode number 11. If you want to know more about that, it's there. Anyways, there's huge regions that appear completely different visually, and a wide variety of boss encounters that range from human size to Shadow the Colossus style nonsense. But I mean, that sounds like I'm saying, oh, it's sort of like Elden Ring, right? Well, except that there's also a bunch of extremely powerful movement abilities, including some kind of magic grappling hook, a gliding mechanic, the ability to climb on every surface, and 2 other playable characters with their own weapons and combat mechanics and traversal abilities. There is an ultra hand light-ish ability. You can pick up and manipulate objects. There's powerful spells where you can do even crazier stuff like rocket jump straight up in the air, slam down enemies. There's full-on castle assaults and hundreds of enemies, crazy boss encounters, and it doesn't even stop there. There's puzzles, dragons, floating ruins, alternate dimensions, a whole host of mundane activities to get immersed in, like farming and ranching and cooking and gambling. Apparently, there's so much in this game, it's almost impossible to list everything in a timely fashion, and every other new preview they come out with reveals some new facet of the game. There is an onslaught of information, and it really does make Crimson Desert feel like an impossible game. Like, there's no way someone could possibly deliver on everything this game is promising. There's got to be a catch somewhere, right? Now, let's just go ahead and say this. It's highly probable that there is a catch somewhere. There's no such thing as a perfect game. Even the best games, the very best, have flaws, sometimes even significant flaws. Like both of the open world Zeldas operating on the original Switch is a fucking disaster once you've played it in 60 frames per second on the Switch 2. It's like, why weren't we talking about how bad these games run? But I guess relatively speaking, the Switch original also had that Pokemon game. That ran worse despite the fact it was a way simpler game. So, I mean, either way, it's a huge accomplishment what they did in the Zelda games, especially on the Switch. But still, I don't think you could cram what they're trying to do with Crimson Desert onto the Switch. But I don't think they're trying to either. And whatever flaws it does end up having, because it will have flaws, it doesn't make it a bad game. Just a game. That's how games are. I want to be upfront and just say, I honestly have no idea how this game is going to turn out. It could be absolutely amazing, could be middling, could be terrible. I have to say the latter two are seemingly increasingly unlikely, as they've provided more and more evidence that this is a real game that does do at least the things that they've shown us it does. And previews from people who have actually gotten a chance to play it were pretty positive. Although I'm not going to say that it's impossible. That's BS. ever. I mean, we've had people playing games coming back telling us that we're going to think it's amazing, and then we get Anthem. Remember the early previews for Anthem? Remember? I remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers. I think it's fair to say that this is a hype video. I'm trying to acknowledge that doubt exists, but it's hard not to be at least a little hyped about Crimson Desert at this point, because it really shows a lot of promise with all these Life and Pywin previews. But aside from a hype video, I'm really trying to impart a reality check. This video is just as much about what Crimson Desert is as it isn't. The developers may be setting themselves up to some impossible standards with the kinds of promises they're making, although they do keep showing us stuff that looks like it probably will at least fulfill a lot of it. Still, it's important to keep stuff in perspective. And yeah, I understand. I'm waffling between two positions. You don't have to write the comment. I just like acknowledging the potential for both good and bad. I think that it's important, and I think it's a lot easier not to be disappointed, but also I don't want to be overly cynical. I like enjoying things, and I like looking forward to things. And it's important to understand this. I mean, it's not The Witcher 3. It's not Skyrim. It's not an open world RPG. It's got RPG elements, certainly, but what open world game does not? There is no dialogue system here. There are not branching story paths. There are not alternative ways to complete quests. The developers have been very clear about this. This is an action game, and it is not an RPG. There are progression systems, but they're mostly tied to upgrades that you find the equipment which you can craft or buy or unlock, which of course does not mean there is not a ton of extra stuff to do. There's a surprising amount of content that we have seen thus far in, demo videos, more or less. Like, you can wrestle and go fishing and decorate your house and upgrade your camp. You can cut down trees. There's alchemy and cooking and weapon crafting, recipes to find out in the world, construction materials that you're going to need, manuals to read about. There's a lot of stuff going on. And the world's not just static like in other games. There's a law and order system at play where if you attack villagers or get caught stealing, it's a man, then you'll get pursued and guards will lock you up in prison. The more I see of the game, the more I see it as kind of a combo of Dragon's Dogma without the pawns and Tears of the Kingdom without the craziest of the powers. But man, a lot of stuff fills in the blanks. And I get that kind of undersells it a bit. There's so much going on here. The game has a flying dragon mount, again to Nintendo's chagrin. Listen to episode 11 of The Falcon Show. And a mech for war, a mech that you can pilot, and is just listed alongside one of a dozen features. Like, it's safe to say there's a lot in this game. Apparently, there's more that has not been revealed. That's what the developers claim anyhow, saying they don't believe the trailers spoiled too much about the game and there's a lot left to be discovered. I'm sure they mean in terms of bosses and dungeons and stories, right? There's no way there's more unexpected features. And even if that's exactly the case, and everything is there, I'm not gonna be disappointed. There's an entire dispatch system where you can recruit soldiers and send them out to do little missions on behalf of yourself, like Assassin's Creed 4 or Metal Gear Solid 5. They can also be sent out to attack enemy bases to whittle down resistance for you while you're out busy doing something else. Like, they just offhand revealed in third preview video, you can just do that. Just another feature to add to the pile. And it'd be one thing if they were on a stage without a game telling you, oh, we're gonna make a game that does all this stuff. They're showing you a game. Now, again, to temper that, these features are just stuff. They don't necessarily have depth to them. They don't have to. Not everything needs to be complex either. Just having this stuff available certainly adds plenty to the experience. But again, until we're playing it, we really don't know. It is good to know that all the side quests aren't just going to be go here, kill something, report back bullshit. Like, there seems like there's going to be plenty of variety to stuff you can do, but in the grand scheme of things, it may not be that a lot of this is more than just something different, which again has its value. The world looks like a lot of fun, but the meat of the experience looks to be the combat. It's an action game, keep in mind. Looks pretty impressive, too. Most previewers have walked away impressed, but there are some concerns where some have gotten hands-on time with the game, and the most substantial criticism I've been able to find is that the combat system might be a little overly complicated and fiddly. Now, keep in mind, this is from somebody who was asked to play the game ahead of time and therefore was a games journalist. In the previews, to me, theory, the combat looks awesome. In practice, I mean, you can't really tell until you've played it, and while it does seem to be like a definite minority opinion, it's been said by somebody who has actually played it, somebody who has actually put their hands on the game and played the game. I have not. I've also found some criticism that the boss fights were not that inspired, maybe have some awkward, unfun phases that are gimmicky. For me personally, my concern is that the grapple-based combat we see when fighting normal human enemies is going to go out the window when fighting bosses. One of the great strengths of the game appears to be, again, the system of grapples and special moves, which may be a lot of fun when fighting enemies your size, but you may not be able to do it a lot against bosses, which would force the player to default to sticking with the standard Souls-like, two-hit string, dodge, that sort of thing, you know? That concern is backed up by some previews I've read, but it's also possible the developers of Pearl Abyss could alter things before release. And to be clear here, there has been a lot of praise from the live demos. It's just not absolutely every person. Of course, there are going to be critics. There may be people who are just looking for something to criticize so that they can stand out amongst a crowd of praise. Believe me, people do that. I'm just trying to convey that it may be possible that the combat might not be excellent in all aspects. It is, to be fair, not the only game these developers have made, though. Before Crimson Desert, there was Black Desert Online, which, yes, does have all the negative connotations that entail a predatory MMO monetization, but one thing that game has is shockingly good combat in terms of, you know, a genre that generally has really lame, nothing combat. It also has a hell of a lot of features that players do seem to like. The more you look into Black Desert, the more obvious that Crimson Desert is in many ways an offline version of that game. And to be clear, Crimson Desert is an offline game. The developers have stated it's a premium experience that you buy and play, and that's it. At launch, at least, there are not going to be any microtransactions. Now, to be fair, launch lasts a day. There is an infinite amount of time after launch that they could add microtransactions later. But, I mean, could it become a cash shop hellscape a month after launch? Full of progression boosters and resource packs? Yes, sure. Could it be costume DLC that can be safely ignored? Also yes. Who knows? I don't. And you can't really complain until they actually do it, if they actually do it. So, I would say something maybe more realistic to be immediately concerned about is the potential performance. This game looks spectacular from everything we've seen, but we have absolutely no way to know if there will be issues attempting to play it. The system requirements on PC are surprisingly low for what we're looking at, which means hopefully the game scales well and is optimized good, but it's also something like to scrutinize as opposed to just like accept. I mean, we'll see, of course, when people play the game, but right now all we have to go on are the game's extremely long list of features. Huge bosses, massive battles, sprawling open world, tons of things to do, full base building mechanic, 3 playable characters with their own unique playstyles, weapons, traversal mechanics, customization. The main guy is still the only one you can play as during story missions, but the 2 other characters can be used for side quests and the open world and are implied to have their own unique quest chains as well. Like, there's a lot going on and it could easily, not work great. Speaking of characters, the main character looks kind of generic. His name's Cliff, but there are at least some options when you're out in the world. He might look forgettable, but his power set is pretty standout, I'd say. The level of aerial action in Crimson Desert has that, the Tears of the Kingdom style falling from the sky, the floating islands of puzzles, a full-on dragon mount, again, to much to Nintendo's chagrin. There's a Da Vinci tank, a flying machine out of Ace Combat, a giant crab that looks like Shadow of Colossus. According to the developers, there's just going to be a lot of secrets and unmarked locations as well. They haven't confirmed caves, but there's a possibility of dungeons and interesting interiors. We know there are ancient contraptions that can be repaired and generally more puzzle-focused sections of the game as well, where you enter the void in the sky, and it seems like shrines from Breath of the Wild, but how they play out could be different, who knows? And keep in mind, there's also all this and massive war battles. Another aspect that we should be concerned about. Could be all very brainless. You're spamming arrows, support powers against hordes of enemies, who knows? It's possible to end up feeling like a shallow activity among dozens of others. But again, I don't know. Is it impossible? Is it real? Is it the real life, or is it just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, No escape from reality? Obviously, the biggest concern, other than a possible invasive cash shop, is that Crimson Desert could have an ocean of content that is an inch deep. We We already know that's not the case with the combat system, though, if there are people that are complaining about it being too complex. So combat could be good, everything else could be shallow, or it may not be the case at all. Or it may be the case, and that's actually something that works in the game's favor. I don't know. I think you could hardly call all of the crap you can do in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth shallow, but is it good that you can do that much stuff? I don't know. I didn't dislike it, I liked it, but could I have spent that time doing something that I liked more? I don't know. There's no way to find out either. Honestly, like, we've seen so much of this game, and yet it's really hard to say exactly what it's going to be. I think they've intentionally done that too. They've left the door wide open for speculation. If you just look at what they're showing you without reading between the lines, it seems too good to be true. Sounds fantastical. Same time, the more they reveal, the more that it looks like a real game, not just a pie-in-the-sky investor pitch. This is a real game that is launching in less than a month, and despite some cautious previews, and I stress some cautious previews amongst many very positive ones, it appears to be the real deal. Even with all that enthusiasm, though, they could still add that cash shop. That's distinctly possible. It's not like Pearl Abyss has pulled no sketchy things with their Black Desert Online, which is a live service game, and you pretty much can only do sketchy things with that type of a thing. Like, is there an honest business model that works with live service? Certainly not to the extent that it needs to operate, but this is not a free-to-play game. You pay $70 and that's it. Crimson Desert looks fantastic. Graphically, it's an absolute powerhouse, and the combat looks more fluid and hard-hitting. Gives you lots of options to maim, body slam, blah, blah. You can customize the mech in the fantasy games. There's machine guns and jetpacks and missiles in the fantasy game. I mean, there's so much stuff in this game. Even if it ends up being kind of a No Man's Sky, lots of stuff, not a lot of depth type thing, I can't imagine being that disappointed by it. It looks like it could be the game to beat this year, at least until we learn more about GTA 6. I'm sure that game will be mind-blowing in its own way, but Rockstar actually tells us what to do in the game, and maybe that might be the reason Crimson Desert isn't. They don't want to be held to that Grand Theft Auto 6 standard. Or maybe they do. I don't know. Till we can actually play the damn thing, I really can't tell you. It might sound like an impossible game, but the expectations could be just impossibly high. There's a very real possibility, however, that the game will actually live up to the hype. It's also possible it won't. Even if you accept the most negative of the previews, though, at worst, this is an extremely ambitious game that is just not the best game ever made. Wow, terrible, right? There's just so much we don't know, though. I do want to know more, and it will not be long until we finally play it. It launches on the 19th of March on PS5, Xbox Series, and Steam. I cannot wait to jump into a mech and machine guns and Vikings. It looks insane, and of course, I am here for that. What about you, though? Leave us a comment, let us know. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. Join the 1% Club. Get the Falcon Show exclusively every Saturday. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.